Michael, Maidens, I would love for you to jump on and talk about how it's different there in Australia, because I know that there is a difference on how you guys are experiencing this lockdown and just what you're going through in your business and your life and what you're anchoring to right now.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. First of all, thank you, Shannon. Thank you, everyone. It's so amazing to be serving everyone and helping out at such a unique time. I obviously don't think that we're going to be going through this in our lifetime again. And yeah, it's so nice to be finding people that we can share this experience with. It's so new and. Yeah, we're making it up as we go along. Probably one of the things that I feel that in Australia we're a little bit behind in terms of, the impact that is happening all around the world. So that's good and bad. I mean, one part is that we get to see, a little bit of what's happening, but that brings up a whole different set of fears and anxieties and things like that. But really, I think in Australia, one of the things that I'm finding to be true is, and I think it's all around the world, is now that it feels like the playing field has kind of leveled a little bit with opportunities and things like that. Because now in Australia, you definitely always feel like, wow, we're this massive big trip away from the States. I've come over and visited the States. I think it's about 33 times now in the last 9 years. And all of a sudden, that's not an option. It's so weird. It's just such a weird feeling to think that, my travel calendar is kind of unknown and empty. And I'm sure we're all feeling that. It's just like, this is this weird thing that we kind of have these anchors and these rocks throughout the year that we're going to meet up in person. And it's really, really strange. So, but one of the advantages of that, and I see this in business, and I see everyone at the moment having that similar realization, is that everyone's stage is now exactly this. It's Zoom, it's online, so what we may have had to do in the past is spend hundreds of thousands of dollars and have all those things where people turn up and times and time zones. It's now kind of leveled the playing field a little bit for people who, if they were obstacles in the past, that they can actually now bubble to the surface and actually step up and shine as well. Mm. One of the big things that I'm finding with a lot of people, and I'm kind of fortunate that I also am behind the scenes helping with a lot of people who are leaders in this space as well. And I can tell you right now that full spectrum, everyone is lacking confidence. Everyone is not sure what used to work last month or last year. It's sort of like, is that actually going to work now? What's the psychological state of everyone? Where's everyone at? What's making them, what's motivating people now? What's the fear bringing up in people? And everyone is also lacking confidence. So I'd like to offer that to, everyone here, that we're all kind of trying to work this out. And but it's not that you may not know. What I'm finding to be true is that although you may not know what the future is, please find confidence in what you've done to this point is going to help you work out what to do in the future, in this short-term period as well. So although you may not know, you are very, very well equipped. Please be confident that you're well equipped to work it out, just as good as anyone else as well. So it's not like we throw out our old knowledge because that's now no longer relevant. That knowledge is going to be, it is as valuable now as what it was then, because it's going to help you work out what to actually do going forward. So yeah, they're the things that I'm really focusing on now, and it's such a great time. Just like Rachel said, it's the time to serve. I mean, obviously, the best type of marketing anyway is alignment. One of those things that if people almost like information is a little bit of a commodity, but them feeling aligned with you and you as a character, you as a person, this is the chance for you to actually bring up this alignment and actually shine and share who you are, and actually create those deeper connections. There was a comment just before about, are people buying? Is it the right time to be selling to people? Well, I can tell you right now, people buy every single day. just look at toilet paper. No one's sitting there with a roll of toilet paper in their hand wondering whether they should sell today. It's like, so people buy every single day. I'm sure that toilet paper thing, that started down in Australia, didn't it? I mean, you've realised that's the most important thing in the world now as well. Eh? But the point is people are buying things every single day. And, toilet paper, as an example, is a perfect alignment to just, toilet paper is serving. So when we're looking at our offers and we're looking at our ability to meet where people are at right now, we just have to position ourselves. I'm not going to say like Stu's logo toilet paper, but but we need to position ourselves in that place of service and realize that we are actually helping people. And how's our product actually helping people at this time? Yeah, they're the sorts of things that I like to do. I definitely try and reframe things, especially at times like this, like an adventure. It's almost like it's everything's all shaken up. All the people who knew what they were doing and had their routines now kids are at home and now we're online and we're not going to that live event. And, where is the adventure in this? And I know we can all go into fear and anxiety but really, like I said before, if we can find that confidence in where's the adventure, what are we building? But I find that we need to go into a space where we can go, how can I do this better so that on the other side of this, we all are in a better situation and a better state. And really try and energize myself and the people I talk to with that type of attitude.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I just wrote it down. This is what it's like, honestly, including the hilarity that you're going to get from people too. This is what it's like sitting in the mastermind with these people. I mean, they're amazing human beings and we're weird. We're entrepreneurs. And so we think differently to begin with. And we're going to just hold your horses because once these guys get going. But the reality is, use this time for you. Right now is like self-care. You're getting to be I don't want to say getting to be in the room, but we're getting to be in the room with you all together. This is no different than what we would be doing if we were sitting in a mastermind right now, talking about what are you doing? What are you doing? What strategy is working? What's not working? Michael, I'd love for you to share a little bit about offers right now and how you're advising your top clients to put offers out there. In what way are we able to do that in a way that serves best right now?
Yeah. So again, it's a lot about the messaging. So it's a lot about really just meeting people where they're at and making sure that we come to the offer and we present the offer with empathy and actually make sure that we see them for what they are and that we aren't. It's more about aligning to the moment and aligning to the purpose. And one of the messages that I'm really helping people position at the moment is that we're going through this together. So whether I know there's a byline that is going to happen in a launch next week, but it's almost like, okay, this will get us through this together. So if we can actually bring people into the solution, not an accessory. So it's actually going through this together. The other thing that another client who's going to be launching next week as well is reusing some amazing content that they created back 6 months ago. And when he was looking at reteaching this content, he was like, well, that's my best work, as in he doesn't think that he could actually represent that as well as what he did 6 months ago. But what we've done is we've actually made the launch almost like he's going to use that, but he's also going to narrate it, going to be live while doing it. So it's going to be streaming and but there'd be a recency. So I think we need to contextualize our message as well to bring it to the now. So the feeling of live versus things that may be pre-recorded. I'm not saying throw pre-recorded stuff out, but it needs to be wrapped up in a recency because the messaging will be like, oh, okay, no, that worked in the previous world. 4 weeks ago. But how can we bring recency to that, and by actually wrapping that up, by presenting it in something that feels like it's actually happening today, and acknowledge it and lean into that and say, look, I was reviewing what I was going to teach here. I realized that I can't teach it any better than what I did, but it is still relevant today. So you're bringing that conversation to being recent and saying, so what I'm going to do is we're going to watch that now, and I'm going to, in actual fact, he'll be pausing all the way through and maybe narrating a little bit, but really that feeling of what you're talking about is relevant today, because I feel that even last week I feel differently to this week. Maybe the trauma and the shock of this thing that happened, a month ago, 6 weeks ago, whatever it is in your timelines, it's kind of settled. And I feel like what may have been a real shock in the back of the chair sort of feeling, I feel like the market and everyone is settling and going, all right, cool, this is not going away in a hurry. Now I'm starting to feel a little bit balanced in my chair, and maybe even starting to lean a little bit forward in my chair, because I know that I need to do something. I can't just sit back in fear. And I think people are starting to find that new normal. There is something else that's going on that I do feel that's interesting, is that there are people having some success too. There are through this. I mean, there's people losing jobs, and obviously health crisis, and especially those extroverts locked away. But but there are a lot of success stories that are bubbling out, and it's not just the toilet paper industry. But I don't feel like those people are comfortable speaking up to say that things are actually okay, and things are maybe better than okay, because of all the hurt out there as well. So although we may not be hearing those stories, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you all the amazing stories, but they are bubbling up. So find some confidence in that too, that there are people still having some of those great successes. And to be honest, I'm probably hearing about 50-50, and that's encouraging too.
I love that you leaned into this so much, Michael, because I think what it's snapping into focus is what we should have been focused on all the time, that your messages and your offer should always be aligned with the market and what they're needing and what they're feeling. Like, that should never be about us, ever. That's and right. So this has made it like hyper aware, because we're seeing people launch and be oblivious and just going forward, and we're like, it's creating in us a weird feeling like there's a disconnection now, where there wasn't before. And then I'm also seeing people go overboard, like, every 5 minutes, coronavirus, and it's like, I'm like, too much. I want to figure out a normal balance, and those who are getting that normal, like, I'm with you, I'm feeling it too, we're there, and that's what hopefully this panel is doing for us. But yet, and still, here's how we will alleviate that pain, because the pain's still there.
And to that point, what I'm feeling like, everyone can't really schedule an email that might have happened in the past. It sort of doesn't feel like it energetically may be correct when it goes to be, let's say, automated in a few days' time or a week's time. So what that means is people are more writing in the moment. And when you write in the moment, I feel that the energy is more aligned, and you're more have more empathy for the people who are receiving it. Now, some of and therefore they're probably more broadcast emails than scheduled emails. And some of the best campaigns that I've done, we actually sit there before broadcasting. So we actually sit there, close our eyes, and we imagine all the people in the world actually receiving this email. Like it's a form of meditation, and reading through line by line, and just actually feel the energy going through these people and how this may actually have impacted them, and really trying to build these little threads between you and the people that are reading your emails. And it's such a different feeling when we know that, wow, we're actually communicating with so many people and able to move people so much just by clicking this button right now. And that's the specialness. You don't get that if it's a funnel and it's automated, or you wrote that 3 weeks ago. And so I think this is helping us be very much more present in that, and therefore, as a result, our message being very much more heartfelt, but aligned to the now as well.
Love it. Love it so much. So good. I'd love to turn the panel over to Mr. Stu McLaren. I'm smiling because we've all listened to Stu talk about how important community is, how important it is to have your tribe, how important it is to drive from that place. And I just feel like the whole world's now turning around and looking and saying, oh, this is a relevant message right now. So I would love for you to chat about just your life. I know you've been going live a ton. I've jumped on with a couple of yours and Amy's lives, and they've been just brilliant, real. So I'd love for you to share the real and then share what you're talking to your tribe about.
Well, here's the real. I'm one of millions and millions of parents who have been thrust into becoming a teacher. And none of us want to stick our kids in front of the Netflix or on the iPads. But the reality of it is we're all standing here like deer in headlights, like, what do we do with our kids? And so there's a lot of figuring stuff out. My work day's been cut in half because where the kids are normally at school, we work during the day, we go pick the kids up and we're present with them. But now, it's like a handoff. And then boom, I'm on daddy duty and she gets to work on her business and the charity. And so that's been challenging. The other thing that's been really interesting and created some conversation with the kids is that our routine before is pretty straightforward. We're very present with the kids in the morning. We have breakfast with them. Obviously, we get them all ready. We take them to school. During the day, we work. Then the time that we have with them before was always focused on them. But now that we're home, they actually see us working. And so what's interesting is the conversation has changed because before it was always playtime when we were with them. But now it's like, oh, you're working again? You're working again? Because they don't see that happening during the day, but now they do. And so it's been interesting to have those conversations with the kids and to talk to them about the reality. And in the same time, we want to be honest and upfront with them about what's happening, but also shield them from the worry that can also come from all of this. My daughter, I've had conversations with her about is she going to die from coronavirus? She's hearing it, and so just those conversations. My son, he's 6-year-old son, the other night, I was lying in bed and we just finished reading a story and I was lying with him and he says, Dad, I just want things to go back to normal. And I was like, buddy, I get it. I'm with you. We all want it to go back to normal. And we don't know. We don't know when it is going to go back to normal. And so that's the reality of stuff. I could totally relate to Rachel. My wife and I do not cook. We hate cooking. So it's very difficult to get the enthusiasm up for the kids when it's like, pasta again tonight, guys. Pasta tonight. We'll make it special. We'll put some different types of cheese on it tonight. So that's been interesting and fascinating. It's also been interesting is with my wife, Amy, she loves to socialize. She's the social butterfly. For me, I'm actually more of an introvert. So for me, this has been amazing. What? You're telling me that I have to stay home? Oh, what? Wait a minute. You're telling me that now there's more and more services that are going to bring stuff to me that I don't have to go anywhere? What? You mean I can still wear my track pants and my sweatpants every day during this and that's okay? That is amazing. But for my wife, she loves to get out and socialize and be out and about. So she is completely stir crazy. So this is the amazing thing. Our highlights of the week, our highlight of the week is every weekend we get in the car and we just drive. We just drive. We're still quarantined, but we just drive. And we're like, oh my goodness, it's a different view. This is amazing. So that's our new reality. Now, as far as the business goes, here's the reality of this. Some people have touched on it. And that is that things have changed. So the way that we market has to change. And I'll tell you one of the biggest heartbreakers of this. We have our biggest promotion coming up and we work all year round for this promotion. And it's something that I absolutely love because I love to show up. I love to serve. I love to get creative. And all a lot of the hard work that we had poured into this, we were so far ahead in terms of our team prepping and being ready for this. And then when we were reviewing all of our launch materials and we were crossing the final, T's and dotting the I's, we realized like, we can't go out with this. And so like all of our launch videos, we filmed them all. Like at the end of last year, we had produced them all. They're amazing. I'm like, we can't go out with this because it doesn't at all acknowledge what is being said and done and is happening right now in the marketplace. And so that sucks because that was a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of money to produce all that stuff. And then ultimately, like the thought process was like, okay, well, maybe like I'll rewrite the scripts right now and we'll refilm them. But what's relevant now might be irrelevant in 3 weeks when we go live. So we can't do that either. So it's been interesting because now like we've had to reimagine what this experience is going to look like for us. And so there's been a lot of, conversation around that. We had a conversation too, full transparency, like, do we move the launch? Do we move the launch? And when we talk about like the reality that all of us feel the fear at some level, I was on a couple different discussions with different groups recently, people that I have a tremendous amount of respect for. And it was very doomsday focused, very doomsday focused. And it scared the crap out of me. And I remember coming off of that and I could feel the fear bubbling up. And then I had a conversation with my business partners of like, well, what do we do? Like, maybe we need to move everything up and all that. And then we met with our leadership of our team and we started strategizing. We spent Friday morning strategizing about that. And then this is a piece of advice I'll give everyone. Before you make a major decision, give yourself some breathing room before you finalize that decision. And so we had this team with our team. We left the meeting right around noon. And I said, we'll finalize this decision by the end of the day. So it gave me a little bit of breathing room. And I reached out to some people that are really close to me, really dear friends. One of them right here on this call, James. And we just chatted and we just talked. And sometimes you need to do that. You need to pick up the phone and you need to call people who know who you are. And one of the things that James said to me that was really powerful, he said, Stu, as long as I've known you, I've never known you to make a decision out of fear. He said, look, whatever you decide to do with your upcoming launch, I'm there. I'm going to support you. He said, so don't even worry about that. He said, but whether you do it now, whether you do it on your scheduled date, whether you do it later in the year, doesn't matter. I'll be there to support you. But is this decision being made out of fear? Or is it a strategic decision? So he didn't tell me it was being made out of fear. He just placed me with that thought to sit with it. And I remember hanging up with James and I thought to myself, son of a, he's freaking nailed it. And then I picked up the phone and I called another friend of mine. And that was Amy Porterfield. And she breathed life into me in a different way. And both of them realigned me with who I am. My number one strength on StrengthsFinders is positivity. So like to get swirled up into that negatron was rare for me. That rarely ever happens. But I was. And I was about to make decisions on the back of being swirled up into that. So I'm not saying that all of us are immune to this by any means. We're not. And what I am saying is like, at some point you got to reach out to people to help realign yourself and to get refocused. Now, here's what's interesting. When after those conversations with James and Amy, I started looking for facts. And here's the facts. In the membership world right now, in the business world, there's two stories that are being told. Or one story, actually, one primary story that's being told. First of all, I have to preface this, like the seriousness of the coronavirus from a health perspective is devastating. I have a dear friend of mine. Her name's Carrie. She's an ER nurse. She's on the front lines. We spoke to her the other night. She has moved into a trailer in her driveway to create separation from herself, her 2 kids, and her husband. So this is real, okay? I also think long and hard about all the businesses who are being impacted because of the ripple effect of this. We cannot lose sight of that. Like, I have friends who own restaurants and breweries, and I have friends who own coffee shops and retail shops and massage studios. They're all dependent on foot traffic. There is 0 foot traffic coming right now. So there is very serious concerns that they have, whether they will even be in business when all of this comes out. So I'm not dismissing that side of the story whatsoever. But here's also some facts. There's another side to this story that is not being talked about. And I believe it's not being talked about because there's a sense of guilt about this because of the impact that it's having on so many businesses. And that is the success that people are having during this time. Like, here's some facts. In the membership world specifically, memberships right now are thriving. For example, Levi, who is in my Impact Mastermind, he runs a guitar membership. He was really actually concerned about looking at his stats. He admitted to me, he said, Stu, I didn't really want to look at my numbers because I was afraid that like people would be canceling in droves. But then his community manager, Allie, came to him and said, Levi, we just crossed a major milestone. He's like, major milestone? So he looked at the numbers. They had just crossed 7,000 members. And he's like, how is this happening? He looked at his stats, and his sales have been tripling during these weeks. Tripling. Why? Because people have more time and are using that time to be productive. They don't want to sit on the couch and veg in front of Netflix. They want to make something. They want to use this time. And in his case, they're learning guitar. And you can maybe say, okay, Stu, but that's probably maybe an isolated case. No. Last weekend, I got 2 messages. One from Emily Jeffords, also in my mastermind. She said, just wrapped up a very simple, low-key launch. She did 2 emails, 2 Instagram lives, and a few social posts for her membership. She welcomed 367 new members, and her market are artists. Artists. Same weekend, last weekend, got another message from Tamara Bennett. You'll love this. Tamara Bennett just wrapped up her launch, welcomed 420 new members, bringing her total over 1,125 members. And here's the market she is in. She helps people paint decorative door hangers. Decorative door hangers. I didn't even know this was a market until I met Tamara Bennett. And I'm telling you this because this is fact. This is fact. This is happening. People are still buying. Now, the other thing to note is that people are craving connection. It was brought up here right earlier before. People are craving connection. We can't get it where we used to get it. We can't get it from church. We can't get it from schools. We can't get it from the sports teams. We can't get it from the pubs or the clubs. Wherever we go to get that connection, we can't get it. So people are craving it from somewhere. And this is why memberships are also booming, because it's a safe environment for people to have that connection, to deepen those relationships. And here's the other interesting thing about that, is that when we look at the facts, here are facts, and I'm sure everybody on this panel can look at their own stats and can validate this. Here are the facts. Email open rates are up. Click-through rates are up. Online engagements are up. Webinar attendance are up. Views are up. Podcast downloads are up. Why? People have more time. There's never been a time right now when more people are online and spending more time online than right now. And so when you start to look at these facts, it starts to change your perspective of what is happening. And we start to realize, yes, there's absolutely a serious situation here. Yes, we absolutely need to be protecting ourselves and preparing, but we can't stick our head in the sand and hope with a magic wand that somebody's going to come and save us and it's all going to be over. This is a time to get active. Now, here's the other reason that I have been saying to our community. So number 1, memberships are booming. Number 2, people are craving connection. Number 3, There's a whole new set of problems that have emerged right now that are waiting for people like you and I, entrepreneurs, to come and solve them. Case in point, I just talked about there's millions of people, parents, who have been thrust into becoming teachers. We have no idea what to do. Now, here's a perfect example of how a very intelligent person, her name is Anna DiGilio, she's in our tribe. She has a membership site providing teachers lesson plans. And she has a great membership providing teachers lesson plans. She taught in a classroom for 20 plus years. She is renowned for helping kids go from not knowing how to read to falling in love and being able to read chapter books. So she provides teachers those lesson plans, but she's realized, oh my goodness, like there's a whole new market. So she's just done a slight pivot. Instead of just providing the teachers the lesson plans, she's providing the parents with lesson plans. Hallelujah, right? Because as parents, yes, there's a million and one things online that we could get for free, but hello, our time as parents, if it's been cut in half, we don't have the time to sift and sort through everything. We just want somebody to tell us what to do. How do I keep my kid moving forward? Another good example. Millions of people used to go to an office to work. Millions of people are now figuring out this virtual thing for the first time, not just in work with virtual meetings, schools, my kids' school, churches. There's so many things who have been forced to move online and they've never done it before. They're discovering this stuff for the first time. So there's an opportunity to serve those audiences. Another example, millions of gyms, physical gyms. Mel has tried to go to his gym. They won't let him go to his gym, no matter how good he is at negotiating. They're not letting him in. So, but does that stop all those millions of people who love to work out from wanting to work on their fitness? No. Peloton has certainly shot up. Shout out to the Peloton riders. Hello. But here's an example. My trainer, he saw this for what it was. It's a new problem that just needs to be solved. So what he's done is he recognized that there's now millions of people who may or may not have the gym equipment at home. So he started providing at-home body weight workouts for free on his Instagram. He has started to build a significant audience because it's a new problem, and now he's providing a new solution. He's meeting the market with where they are at. So I'm here to tell you that as much as there is the seriousness around what is happening, it's also a very unique time right now. And I want to say, like, if your business is doing well, do not apologize for that. Do not stop making offers during this time. Do not stop showing up and serving people. Do not apologizing for making somebody's life easier. Anna, with those lesson plans, she's not insulting me by offering me a chance to join that membership as a parent. She is helping me. She is saving us so much time with our kids. And so at the end of the day, Shannon, like, nobody is immune to the feelings and emotions that bubble up during this time. And the biggest thing I would say is that we've got to keep ourselves in check. You've got to surround yourself with people who can breathe life into you. You've got to go deeper in the communities that you're part of. You've got to be intentional about, investing in those communities and doubling down on deepening those relationships. And sometimes you just got to pick up the phone. You just got to pick up the phone and jump on the phone with somebody who's going to bring you back. And then you got to start looking at the facts of what's happening, because there's another side to this story that is not being told. And it's not being told because there is so much focus on the negative, and our hearts are with those people who are experiencing that stuff. Shannon, to hear, that your husband just lost a job, my heart goes out to you because I know the emotion that comes with that. That is a reality. And that story is being told, but there's another side to this story as well. And that is that there's new problems that have emerged that are waiting for people like you, like me as entrepreneurs. This is what we do. We identify problems, we create solutions. That is how we create value in the marketplace. And my friends, there's a whole new set of problems. If somebody could get me groceries that isn't a month out in terms of the delivery, I am willing to pay you an absolute fortune, because right now it is pandemonia in the McLaren household because we don't know when we're going to get groceries. And somebody, the sacrificial lamb, is going to have to leave the dome to go and get groceries. And so there's just different problems that have emerged that are waiting for people like us to solve.
Yeah, I'm thinking of another membership that is just thriving right now are your food deliveries that have never stopped. People like Model Meals and Territory and all those food. Like, we haven't felt the push because Model Meals was what we did. So they still come, and it's just part of like Feed Me, because I'm in the Stu camp. I used to own restaurants. And that meant like I got to create the food and not have to cook the food. Right?
So here's another example. Okay. So we're in the same boat. Amy and I hate cooking. So unfortunately, our help that we normally have to help us with meals has been quarantined in her country because she went home for a vacation, and she got quarantined during this. So we don't have that help. So there's a woman in our local area who we hire to cater different parties that we typically have. So my wife reached out to her, and she is a chef and got innovative and started saying, okay, well, I got a menu. Here's the menu. You can get this many meals pre-cooked. They drop them off on the doorstep. Amy goes through her whole ceremony of bringing the food in the house with wipes and goodness knows what else. The food comes in, and so this is a great example of a chef who's pivoted a little bit to be able to serve the needs that are happening right now. So there's so many great examples of entrepreneurs who are not sticking their head in the sand. They're using their creativity. And I don't know about everybody listening, but I get most creative when I am most desperate. And this is a time, my friends, Natalie said there are going to be people that are going to come out of this who had major breakthroughs because they were forced to have these breakthroughs. And what I would encourage everybody to think about is like, how can you use this time? How could you use this time so that when the coronavirus is finished, you've come out healthier, you've deepened your relationships, your business is not only has momentum, but it's booming. How could you use this time? And one of my dear friends and former business partners, Michael Hyatt, has a great question that I would encourage everybody to camp out on. And the question is this: what does this make possible? What does this make possible? That question turns your brain on to look for solutions and not bury your brain in the sand, hoping that solutions will come.
Oh my gosh, Stu, the spark plug, Stu. I love it. It's so amazing just to hear it from your perspective. So many people in the comments were saying, like, thank you for just being real and acknowledging the things that they've been going through too, but just giving that fire for such a time as this, right? Like Natalie said, like, this is the time to finally step in to the things you've been putting off, right? Because you haven't felt enough, or the competition, or whatever it was.
And what is interesting though, too, is like, I've also noticed, here's another reality of this new, like, I have a chair right here. Some of you may have seen that my kids came in and they came and they stood up on the chair and they poked their head, they grabbed my earphones, they listened for a little bit and then they left. That's a new reality, right? And I think people are just way more acceptable with this new reality. I'm surprised my dog hasn't gone berserk while we've been on this, but that's a new reality. And I think, like, we just got to give ourselves grace and let ourselves off the hook and realize, like, we don't need to be perfect. We don't need to show up. And if anything, this has given us the opportunity to not be perfect and just to get going. And that's the most important thing during this time.
I love it, Stu. I love it so much. James, I would love to have you. Are you still in Sedona? Are you, he got quarantined and couldn't get out. So I'd love for you to share what you've been doing there in the beautiful place.
Yes, I am. I'm still in Sedona. It's a very different vibe out here for anyone who's been to Sedona. Actually, the sentiment with most people right now is that it just feels very insulated from a lot of what's going on everywhere else. And my wife's at home in Southern Orange County, and she's describing a very different reality than the one I'm in out here. I'm very blessed. I've got a mountain right behind me, and I can just go hike alone in the middle of nowhere. That social distancing and being out in nature is very easy for me to do. So I'm very blessed. I've been out here for the last couple of weeks, and my wife will be joining me. But it's so beautiful what you just said, Shannon. So thank you, because I've been doing a 2-day marathon with my people. I'm starting to lose my voice. So, that's really what's been coming up for me. And you guys have all said such incredible things since I've been on here. And I don't necessarily know if I have anything new to say, but maybe just an additional perspective to add to it, and really how we can start to use this, because Tiffany was talking about this metaphor, falling off the horse, right? I think we all fell off our horses, and I think people trying to make their life about how do I avoid falling off the horse. And, that's that whole idea of just living your life playing not to lose, and you get what you focus on. We all fall off our horses, every single one of us. And I think the game really becomes for us is how fast can we get back on? And every single person that you've heard from today has gotten back on their horse. And I think if you were to ask them, that part of what allowed them to get back on their horse quicker is because they knew that they owe it to their audiences. They owe it to the people that listen to them. And, most people here listening, I assume you have, or even if it's just a few people, right? You have your own audience, the people that look up to you, the people that listen to you, and anybody, and it's real easy to do that. Anybody can spread more fear. And fear is the real contagious thing here. And that's easy, to get into our fear and then spread it to others. And I've watched it. I mean, I've seen it everywhere I go, virtually and in person. We see how fast it spreads. But when you're operating from this commitment where you have this opportunity and this responsibility, because this Spider-Man told us with great power comes great responsibility. It is a great power to have a voice, to have an audience, even if it's 100 people following you. Those are still 100 people. We tend to forget. We look at those numbers and compare it to others and get in our ego. And that's nothing, that's small, but we forget what 100 people in a room look like. And to realize that in itself is a lot of power. And with that power comes a lot of responsibility. And what can help each and every one of you apply what you've been told today will be to understand that you have the opportunity, dare I say, the duty, the obligation to be the light for the people in your life, to be that light for your audience, for your followers, for your fans, for your customers, for your friends and your family. They don't need your fear. They don't need your worry, and they don't need your doubt. What we need right now is more light. And that's exactly what you've seen here, is you've seen a group of people get on and share with you how they got back on their horses and how they're sharing from their new perspective, where they're going, what they see. And we're going to get through this together. And, that's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome to me, because when I pull back, let me actually say this. My definition of leadership, which is what's needed right now, a leader is somebody who operates from the future. That's what entrepreneurs are. A leader is somebody who is operating from a future that does not exist, that no one else sees as possible. And it's those type of people, those leaders, those visionaries, and those entrepreneurs that, yes, are going to thrive in this time. Of course, we all know this by now. There's going to be massive companies built and very successful millionaires made in this time, right? But even, money aside and success aside, what the world needs right now is leaders. What we need are people that can stand for a vision of a bigger, brighter, better future that most people can't see right now, and get others enrolled in that. Because what you do have at a collective level is a ton of people that are focused on fear. They're focused on the worst case scenario. And they're going to need people like you to spread that light, just as these extraordinary people that I've gotten to know personally, are doing for you. And Scott, man, I feel for you, buddy. I just bought 2 Airbnbs. Gosh darn it, like 30 days ago, $1.3 million in Airbnbs. I'm like, ready to get, And look, people, I'm in all these Airbnb groups, right? They are freaking the F out, and they're making a lot of decisions from fear. And that's one of my big messages for you is be very mindful that you are not reaching out to your audience, communicating them from a place of fear, and that you're not making big decisions from a place of fear. And here's one of the examples I've seen. I'm in Sedona. It's a fantastic place. You guys should all come and visit me, and we'll have a fantabulous time. There's a lot of Airbnbs out here, and here's what I'm watching in droves. People are switching their Airbnbs right now to long-term rentals. They're making a scarcity, fear-based decision right now. But it's really actually good because it's going to allow people to have a long-term rental, cheaper place to live if people want to stay here. That's great. But in terms of the growth of their business, they're making a hasty decision out of fear. And I don't want anybody doing that. And so what Shannon was talking about doing that internal work, not only should you be doing that, but like this is the time to do that. For those who follow me or know me anything, I get really weird and woo pretty darn fast. And so if we take a big enough step back and kind of look at this thing from a different perspective, maybe like an alien looking down on us, right? What are they seeing right now? What is someone from another planet looking and seeing it right now? And what we have is this very interesting thing, as Shannon has said, and so many people have said, we've had these circumstances and events that are outside of your control. And there's just so much that exists outside of your control. And we kind of create this veil or illusion that we have so much more control than we actually do. And then it's like, bam, wake up call. No, you didn't. So there's this thing that's happened. And, what the government tells you, what your mayor or governor tells you can't do or can do. I mean, like in Laguna Beach, surf town, you're going to get fined and arrested for going to the beach now. Like, this is crazy, right? You can't control that. That's out of your hands. You got to stay in your home. So here's this thing that's out of your control, but at the same time, it's also stopping, right? So much, as people are saying, it's like we're stopping what for most people has been their normal grind. And what most people are realizing is they're waking up from a trance, where for most people, work was such a great excuse to distract them from what's going on. Well, I'm busy, right? We're in the busy trance. And when we're so busy, we use busyness as a distraction. I don't need to worry about that. I don't have time for that, right? And we just stay distracted. Now people are like waking up from this trance, and they got all this time on their hands. And you may notice, as it's been talked about already, especially with Shannon just mentioning it, a lot of stuff has been coming to the surface for you. And what I know about entrepreneurs, that I love about entrepreneurs, is they're so personal growth driven, right? Like you hang out at the personal development aisle, the bookstore, right? You go to all the seminars and stuff because you already know that your business is a direct reflection of you, right? Grow you, grow the business. How many of you here, just to check in with the comment, have experienced some sort of trigger, upset, or emotion in the last 2 or 3 weeks, and you're like, what the heck? I thought I worked through this already, right? Like I thought I dealt with this. Yeah, that's been a very common theme talking with a lot of my clients and students. They're like, I thought I had worked through this. And so, yeah, you had, but new level, new devil, and this work is in layers. And so what we have is this unprecedented, beautiful time that I'm here for you, as tough as it gets, as hard as it gets, that when these emotions come up, when this stuff is bubbling to the surface, this is the stuff that has been holding you back. And you have found a way, your ego has found a way to compartmentalize it and hide it from you, and you found a way to cope with it and not deal with it, but it has been silently, quietly holding you back. And now that it comes to the surface, this is the opportunity to release it, to let it go, that there is as Shannon said, a thought or a belief behind it that is, preventing you from going in the direction you want to go. Use this time to look inward. Use this time to gain. because it's a really tough pill for people to swallow when I say pain is a blessing. And that is really hard to say. But even when Shannon shared her story, and I mean, like, I could only imagine what that would be like. And then the insights and the gaining she had after it, because pain forces us to pay attention. And when we pay attention, we realize there's something there for us. There's a lesson, there's an opportunity to grow, there's an opportunity to let go of what no longer serves us. During this time, one of the worst things you could do is have all this stuff that comes up and try and bury it, try and ignore it, try and pretend it's not there, and try and distract yourself. Let it come up so that you can work through this, because collectively we are going through a massive healing. And this is where tomorrow's leaders are going to be created. Tomorrow's entrepreneurs are getting created. And it's going to be those that use this time wisely to let go of what's no longer serving you, so you can step into the role that is being demanded by society. And that work happens right now. This is what I've been calling, like, it's Hell Week. It's right before the season's about to start, and we're doing 2 days, 3 hours each, and it's going to be tough. It's going to be uncomfortable. But each one of these triggers, I like to say, like, the trigger is the access point, the gateway to healing, right? When you start to notice, like, when you're in that upset, when you're getting hooked by something, that's the opportunity. Behind that, Tony Robbins always said, turn frustration into fascination. I love that, right? Get fascinated about, why am I so upset about this? What's the thought? What's the belief? What's the story or perspective I'm holding behind this? And that's the opportunity that we all have. And I think that's what everyone here has been saying in their own way. And it's so beautiful. What you're looking at is people that have done that, people that have gotten back on the horse so that they can help you get back on yours, so you can help others get back on theirs. And that's how we all grow. That's how we all heal.
I would love for you to share, James, in the community, kind of like Stu was saying, what kind of wins are you seeing? We have the privilege, I have the privilege, you have the privilege of being behind the scenes and seeing the wins that aren't being so publicly put out there. So I'd love for you to share some of the wins that you're seeing within your groups.
Yeah, it's I've been telling my students, and I'm I want to just echo that with you guys. Right now, as an online business, and I work specifically with anybody that is calls himself a coach, a course creator, membership site owner, authors and stuff like that. This is one of the greatest times and opportunities for audience growth, even if you're a brand spanking new and you don't have an audience. Because what you have is, I just shared, this collective experience of people are reevaluating everything in their life. There will be people, like, yes, it's really tragic to hear there's 3-point-something, million people that are just filed unemployment in 1 week, right? That it's easy to judge that and say that's tragic. But I think that's an unfair judgment. How many of you have heard someone, maybe it's been you in your life, where you're like, man, looking back in hindsight, getting fired was the greatest thing that ever happened to me. And so, from a further back perspective, we can always see a bigger picture. And I know when we will look back at this time, and I think Scott spoke to this as well, that this will be such a turning point and a catalyst for so much growth and so much good in other people's lives. And so in this time, what you have is a lot of people that are looking inward, and they're looking online. They're looking inward and they're looking online, and they're looking to you. They have questions. They're searching. They're in a time of seeking. And it's those that have an insight, those that have a voice, and those that have the courage to share that voice are going to be heard now more than ever. And so many of you, as these amazing individuals we have here, have such a burning, desire to get that message out to more people. And I'm watching each of them grow. I'm watching each of them step. That's what's been created even just here, right? Step into a higher role, an elevated role. Their message becomes elevated, and more people are coming to it. And it's so exciting. So audience growth is massive right now. Yes, I can get into all the nerdy and technical stuff. Like right now, I just checked a minute ago. We put out a new campaign on Facebook ads. It's never been cheaper. It was 700 leads in 36 hours at $2.50 a lead. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me right now? I'm like, my phone must be broken. These stats aren't right. And our podcasts, we're having record weeks with our podcast right now. And our Instagram is growing like 3 times the speed that it's been growing, right? More people are paying attention. More people are waking up. And this is so good. And that's where I want to move everybody to. And that's where you're going to help move people to, is out of fear and back into love. And I know it can sound like a cheesy Hallmark card, but that's as simple as it is. Out of ego, out of fear, and back into love. And that's what people are looking for, is for people to guide them. And, you know, these 9 people here can't do it alone. So exciting times. That's the biggest thing. Yes. And people who are launching right now, people that are selling right now, they're having their biggest and most profitable launches. Not because they're trying to take advantage. It's so easy to say that, but simply because they're coming, it's all intention, right? And where you come from, and purity of heart, and more people listening and more people ready. I've been buying stuff. I was telling people recently, I just bought a $2,500 coaching thing, just like webinar. Here you go, boom. I'm like, hey, I got the time. Let's go do this, right? So, yeah, exciting.
I love it. I love it, James. Thank you so much for just sharing and your generosity. And for being a leader. You know, I'm privileged to be mentored by James, and it's helped me see how to serve people at a level that I've always wanted to, because he continues to raise the bar, and I'm like, wow, there's a level that I didn't realize was possible. Cool, let's go. So that's my intention here, is everybody that's represented has a unique perspective, but they really are serving on such another level